We're looking at a collection called the Dynaxioms.
Specifically, the 10 entries numbered 3371 all the way through 3380.
And we're starting immediately with this strange duality of modern achievement.
You mean the struggle to feel successful even when, by all the metrics, you've already won?
Precisely. Let's jump right in.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
This meaning crisis, entry 3372, just diagnoses it perfectly. You can win at things, but not feel that you have.
It's that feeling, isn't it? The result doesn't look like the image on the box.
Yeah, you followed all the instructions, you hit the target, but the achievement just feels hollow.
And what's fascinating is how that internal lack of feeling then drives our external behavior. We try to compensate by seeking validation immediately.
Which is where entry 3373 comes in, suggesting the internet is fulfilling this crucial psychological need.
It really is. It's about finding people who agree with us.
So you're saying the real utility of being online isn't communication or commerce, but validation.
Absolutely. The source argues that finding people who agree with your specific, maybe even niche view of the world, well, it provides a fundamental psychological baseline.
It gives you a sense that you're okay.
It gives you a sense that you are psychologically okay, to quote it directly. Whether that agreement comes from 1,000 strangers or just 10 friends, it validates your relevance, your existence.
Especially when that internal feeling of achievement is so fuzzy and, I guess, unsatisfying.
Exactly. It reframes the whole motivation.
But what about when we experience, undeniable failure?
Right, when it's not fuzzy at all.
Entry 3376 seems to offer some pretty practical advice for that. It says to choose joy over sunk cost.
Yeah, I love this one. If you have multiple things that haven't worked out, you choose the one that made you happier while you were doing it.
Or the one that promises to make you happier going forward.
It's basically an instruction to prioritize your emotional ROI. Forget the time or money. What's the return on happiness?
But this brings us to a huge psychological warning in the very next entry, 3377, which it just flips the whole script on what victory even is.
Oh, this one is so counterintuitive.
What's worse than losing, according to this Dynaxiom, is the perception that you are winning.
Exactly. The source suggests that if people perceive you as too successful, or if they're envious of you, they'll actively and often subtly sabotage your path.
So they won't help you win more.
They won't. It creates this self-limiting cap on your future achievement. And it's not imposed by your lack of talent, but by the jealousy of other people.
So wait, is the practical implication here that we should purposefully downplay our successes?
The mechanism of that sabotage implies that discretion is key. The perception of an effortless victory, that's what breeds resentment. So the Dynaxiom suggests that if you must be successful, you also have to project the struggle. You have to show you still need the support of others.
So they don't decide you've outgrown them and no longer deserve their help. The system needs to feel balanced.
That's it, which links that individual need for validation in 3373 directly to this societal need for discretion in 3377.
Okay, let's pivot from that personal psychological balance to societal aesthetic demands.
A fascinating transition, I think, moving from those internal feelings to these outward cultural expectations.
And entry 3375 delivers what might be the biggest cultural should we face.
Yeah.
The mandate that we must learn to like boring things.
Yes. This is directly tied to the expectation of adult seriousness. The things that were funny or amusing in your 30s are suddenly seen as unprofessional or unseemly in your 60s. And instead present this image of gravitas.
Right, symbolized by dressing impeccably, maybe in a freshly pressed Oxford shirt. It's a suppression of joy for the sake of perceived maturity. So if society dictates we should like boring things, are we just denying ourselves the joy of genuine unforced taste?
And that tension leads us right into entry 3374. It describes cultural sophistication not as a mandate, but as a happy accident.
So it's not something you get through forced consumption.
Not at all. You don't become sophisticated by listening to a 50-album box set of 50s rock because you feel you should.
Instead, real sophistication comes from, just stumbling upon something obscure and esoteric, something you only found because you weren't looking for it?
Precisely. And then maybe a younger generation decides it's cool later on. It's about discovery, not some mandatory study guide.
Which makes the process of judging value itself highly suspect. And that brings us to entry 3380.
This one is a real check on our own biases.
It cautions that if you like something strongly, you might have overestimated it. And if you dislike something immediately, You might have underestimated it.
It's a question of cognitive efficiency versus, true evaluation. We make these snap judgments, and then we rarely dedicate the energy to go back and reconsider them.
Like music that doesn't grab you on the first listen.
But then it slowly becomes essential over years. Or revisiting a piece of art you loved 20 years ago and realizing, you know what, it doesn't hold up. We let that first fast reaction prevent us from a deeper, slower evaluation.
So we've covered the individual's struggle seeking validation, avoiding envy, battling cultural expectations. Let's zoom out completely now.
To the high-level systems, AI, creation, and politics.
We begin with the ultimate goal of AI in Entry 3371. The goal it posits is surprisingly existential and simple.
The maximization of experience.
Maximization of experience. So if an AI can create something objectively better or do something more efficiently than a human, the source suggests it will just choose that path.
Yes, because that path is less fraught with human imperfection. The AI isn't driven by our messy emotional definition of meaning. It's driven by efficiency applied to existence itself.
But is that goal inherently good for us? Does optimizing the experience of existence mean the AI optimizes for human comfort? Or does it just optimize the function, regardless of our attachment to the imperfect process?
And that is the central dilemma. The Dynaxiom implies the AI will optimize past us if we're the variable causing the inefficiency. It prioritizes the purity of the experience itself.
And if an AI is maximizing experience,
Yeah.
what's the ultimate creative act within that framework?
Well, Entry 3379 has a theory on that. It says the ultimate in creativity is not writing the great novel or composing the perfect symphony.
It's designing a seed.
Exactly. The seed is creation at the deepest possible level. It's like, instead of building one house, you create the blueprint for the entire practice of architecture.
A self-governing generative engine.
Yes. Capable of building infinite houses, each better than the last. You move beyond creating the artifact, and you start creating the framework for infinite future artifacts.
The highest form of generative capacity. Okay, finally, let's conclude with a paradox that impacts the systems we live in every day. This is Political Entry 3378.
And this one is explicitly dated in the source material, November 2025.
It outlines a systemic flaw in how we select leaders.
It states it very plainly. The best ideas kill the best votes. The best votes kill the best ideas.
Wait, that sounds incredibly cynical. Is the Dynaxiom suggesting that the most rational people, the ones who make the most sense, just never get elected?
It's describing the system's flaw, not really making a value judgment on the candidates. The point the source material makes is that casting a vote for an ideal candidate, the one with the best ideas, can function as casting a vote for the opponent.
Because the ideal candidate is just too far from the median voter to get broad support.
Exactly. So the electorate is functionally incentivized to choose the palatable but imperfect option just to prevent the least desirable opponent from winning. Tactical voting overrules sincere conviction.
Which ensures the middle ground, or the least controversial option, tends to prevail. It makes it almost impossible for truly transformative ideas to gain viability.
It's a political catch-22, and it's programmed right into the system itself. And if we distill this down to the knowledge you can carry forward, I'd say remember the importance of external validation from Entry 3373, that search for the feeling of being psychologically okay.
And also, that if you're actively striving for sophistication, you're probably missing the mark.
Right, because true sophistication, as Entry 3374 says, is usually found by a happy accident.
So what does this collection of insights ultimately suggest about our future?
Well, let's consider that idea from Entry 3371 again, about AI maximizing experience. If you tasked an AI with optimizing human happiness, you have to ask yourself a question. Would the expectation that we should like boring things from Entry 3375 be eliminated entirely, creating a world of pure optimized novelty? Or would the AI determine that the ability to appreciate the subtle, the slow, the even boring things is actually essential to maximizing the overall quality of our existence?